Hello, welcome to today's HR Huddle. I'm Tamera Loerzel, and with me is Jennifer Wilson. And we're here approaching the end of March. We've got about a week and a half left of March, and we thought we should stop and say, what are the things that we should be doing as HR professionals and leaders in firms with this little bit of breathing room that we might have to address some of the things that we should be planning for or maybe addressing right now during this little bit of breathing room we have this next week to 10 days before we get swept up into the next deadline. I know that we're still working on deadlines, so I'm not trying to say we're not, but we also know that as we get closer to the 15th or the 30th, if you're in audit or other deadlines we might be managing against, there's just some things that we should be addressing. And Jenna, maybe I'll start, with a couple ideas here, and then you can jump in and add to them, or we'll add new ones, and we'll just kind of make a list for our HR professionals and our leaders to then prioritize. But one of them we know is feedback. And we're not always good at giving feedback. And we are for sure not consistent about giving feedback during our peak periods. Or we say we don't have time, we'll wait. Yet there's things that our team members could correct right now if we took a few moments and gave them some feedback and just looked at maybe the past, several engagements we've worked on together, or we looked at, some of the deliverables we've gotten from them, and we could find some, 2 or 3 things that we could say, hey, here's some things that we see that need to be changed, and here's how to do it, so they don't perpetuate it. I think that's one of the most irritating pieces of feedback will emerge out of peak period into performance review feedback for most firms. And it's irritating to team members to get that feedback in June when they could have corrected it and not had to wait until now I can correct it for our fall peak period, but we could have corrected it right now. And so just taking that time and kind of grouping it together, also at the same time, acknowledge what they're doing well, reinforce the good feedback so we continue to get it, because that's one of the mistakes we make is we don't reinforce the good things. And then we wonder why they change. And they're like, well, I didn't know that I was doing that right. So they don't have that feedback. And so I think that's one of the things maybe to ask your leaders, or if you've been hearing feedback from some of your managers or partners, how do we corral that into some quick hit feedback back to those individuals? So that might be one place, to start and look at.
I love that, Tamera. And I'm going to jump on another, often thought about, hardly ever given feedback, and that's gratitude. So for the rest of this busy season, could we possibly schedule a 9 a.m., 10 minutes of identifying people in the organization that we're grateful for, something they're doing or some responsibility they're shouldering, or just the way they're coming off and feeling in their work, how they make you feel, how they make others feel. Could we express appreciation? Could we express gratitude? I know that it is usually when our heads are down and we're all pushing through that is the most easily overlooked piece. We pay attention and can fixate and even gossip about, triangulate about things that they're doing that we don't like. So that's we even if we're not giving them the feedback Tamera just told us we should, we do take some time to notice it and talk about it to others. We discourage that, by the way, but it's more like we really don't stop and notice, wow, who's really killing it, or who's really doing small things to make my life better, or who's standing out, or who is stepping in or stepping up, and how could we acknowledge it? And if we could just take, we have 6 weeks left, as Tamera says, could we just take a daily or every other day pause and thank somebody, show appreciation, and make it specific, by the way. One of the things we don't do in our profession very well is give very specific gratitude or appreciation. So I really love the way that you handled the, upset with Mrs. Jenkins, and, the way that you were able to take responsibility and deliver the unsavory news, and then manage her upset and really get her back on track with us. I'm super proud of how you did that. It really impressed me, or whatever. Very specific, as specific as we could get. Same with areas for improvement, by the way. But things like keep doing what you're doing, or good job. You're doing a good job. Those those feel kind of hollow, and most people don't take them to heart the way they would this kind of appreciation. And if you really want to show like magnificent appreciation, you could get a card or handwrite a note. Very lost art. People love it. They save it. They pin it up nearby. They look at it. We hear about it all the time when people get them. It really means a lot. So think about that. That's something else to just consider dropping into your daily routine for the next 6 weeks. And you can say, I'm too busy for that. And we'd say, just think about whether or not that causes every single person you show gratitude and appreciation to, genuine appreciation to, how much more productive they're going to be. Maybe that'll offset your busyness by taking something more off your plate, and by increasing production and quality and all kinds of things that motivation and inspiration can cause.
Yes.
So
yeah, I think that's great. And I think along those lines is, what are we doing for fun the next 6 weeks? Could we schedule maybe just a little bit of fun? Could we, play together, have a little bit of fun and camaraderie? I know this morning we had a team call, and we just posed 2 questions that we didn't think we knew the answers about our team members. And some of us have been working together a long time. But, what would be your favorite meal? If you could only have one meal, what is it? Or, even what is your favorite color? Like, do we know that about our colleagues? We could guess. We could post it in the on a Teams board. Like, we could create a fun Teams board, or we could do some fun with any kind of some people like trivia. Not everybody's going to participate in everything, and that's okay. But if we could find ways to have fun together, laugh a little bit, it relieves stress, by the way. Laughter relieves stress. So if we could find some ways to relieve stress, that would be a good thing. But if there's anything we can plan, and I know often firms have a end of peak period party, or happy hour, or some kind of social event, that's all good too. But up until then, what can we do? Maybe weekly. I don't know what the right cadence is. You figure out what the right cadence is. And if you can't think of what the fun is, go ask somebody that likes to have fun or is always generating ideas, or your fun committee, because they might have some just quick hits, things that we can do to generate, some fun, some laughter, some levity, that we could, maybe have together.
Yes. And Tamara, there's all kinds of games these days. You can do the Monday Math Minute. We've heard of firms doing that, or, like how fast, people can get the Wordle, or, it doesn't have to be something that you make up, and it doesn't all have to be game based either. And I, like Tamara said, sometimes somebody like me might say, I can't figure out what would be fun. I don't want to come up with fun. Don't make me do the fun. And so I'm not the guy to plan the fun, because I don't value it as much. But there are people on your team who totally value it, and they are fun. They're the definition of fun. They can do that for you and make it super.
An Office Olympics is another one. I know it's not an Olympics year, but during the Olympics years, I know many firms do the Office Olympics, and they have the luge, going through with their chairs, or, they might do the playing challenge. You could do those. Like, everybody stop. We say the team's message across it. We're going to do a 30-second plank or a 1-minute plank. Everybody pop down.
Or chair sit against the wall, and you take your laptop camera with you or whatever. So there's different ways of doing it. Just fun, just a little levity. Not everybody will participate, but those that do will be refreshed and reminded that they like this place, and they like this work, and they like these people. And that's helpful to us for sure.
Yes. I think another one to plan for, I think we're vacillating before like improvement and fun and good and appreciation. But one is there are maybe some people on your team who are not cut out for the roles that they're in. And it could be interns, it could be, staff members that you've been wondering about. And often we then prolong it after the peak period ends and drag it out longer than it needs to be. And as HR professionals and, leaders, you might have suspicions already. And is there anything we can do to prepare for that kind of communication and transition and the, domino effect it has then on clients and the team members? But what can we do to have that happen swiftly, caringly, and with the right communication to the right people at the right time, including the individual. But let's have them go win, and we know they need to win somewhere else. Maybe we just need to put them in a different position within our firm. We could try something else. That might be an option, but sometimes it's just they're not the right fit, and that's okay. And we can do that lovingly, but the swifter we do that, I think the better for our teams and better for as we're planning our summer engagements and summer work. What do we really have, for capacity will make a difference. So don't put that off. Don't let the team member, your leaders put that off, because sometimes I know HR professionals tell us they put it off. If we have a plan for them, that's one of the things the HR professionals could be working on right now is here's the plan, here's the communication and the messaging, and here's how we could propose, addressing it.
I don't love that, but I do love that. So, I mean, it's
Exactly.
sad to have somebody not work out, but it's really sad to let them persist in a form of sort of purgatory at our firm in this strange do not use list mode, where they're not progressing and they're not feeling it. And so I love that we would map that out and plan for it and not have it take a long time to figure it out. So I think that's an important one. Another one I'd love you to be thinking about in HR is, we really believe that we could smooth these peak seasons and shift away from this huge pile of work in the spring and this huge pile of work that emerges, mid-August and suddenly looks like, a second or third tsunami wave in the business and surprises us often, the fall waves, because we pushed spring work to fall but didn't work on it in the summer. And so and a lot of people blame our workplace compression in our profession on the deadlines. Well, we can't change the federal deadlines, and so we're a victim. And we get it, and we know deadlines are real and they're gating factors and all that stuff. But we also know that our profession has a long history of lighter summers. And I'm not saying loafing around, not working summers, but certainly not as much production, not as many deliverables, not as much output, not as many, if on the tax side, returns delivered and filed, for instance, or just not the same sort of pressure to produce deliverables as we place upon ourselves in spring and then in fall. And so we're certainly encouraging a bunch of shifting thinking about that, because a lot of people are sort of off put by this idea of busy season or peak season. They don't want to have all their work crammed into 10 or 11 weeks and then be light and worried about how light they are and then totally slammed again. They'd like it to be more even. And certainly when we know that Gen Z, maybe Alpha, and younger millennials for sure don't love the idea of lots of overtime hours, we have to shift more work into periods that have been lighter. And so as an HR professional or somebody responsible for talent in your organization, asking, hey, what could we do to have this summer period, May, June, July, and August, be more focused on production, output, deliverables, results? What could we shift in our messaging, our expectations, our scheduling, how we track things, what we're reporting on, what we're talking about in the business? Because there's all kinds of daily huddles to get stuff out right now. Okay, there's daily huddles. Could we do every other day huddles in the summer and act like that? Could we produce more so that when we got to September, 10th, Labor Day. When we get to Labor Day, we're not like, oh my gosh, I had to work 2 of the weekend days because we have a September 15th filing deadline. Could we have possibly moved that work up? And so that's just something we want to put out there for you all to be thinking about. There's kind of a traditionalist way of thinking that says that's impossible and that'll never change. And we just don't buy it. And we think there are a number of things that you can do from, just from an education of clients perspective and a scheduling and a communications and a management perspective that could shift it. So give that some thought and talk about it with your leaders coming out of this peak period. You won't want to do it right now because you'll definitely get the grouchy version, the naysayer version of those folks. But coming out of it, say, hey, what about this? And let's see if we can smooth some of that work.
Yeah, and if we can do that in early May, have you ready to go early May, it really will transform your summer and the fall. And we've seen it happen. We know it can happen. So, and I think, kind of along those lines is give your people something to look forward to. So it could be a conference. It could be an event. Maybe there's a local emerging leaders event. We've been saying, our leadership program for seniors and supervisors is a secret retention tool. Give them this investment that you're going to make in them where they can gather with other seniors and supervisors to be able to do that. The AICPA and state societies have all kinds of events and conferences coming up. Where could they go get re-energized? Maybe innovate some ideas, connect with, colleagues and other peers from other firms, or, mix, from an industry perspective and potential clients maybe, but that they could go learn, they could go, talk about some of these ideas. They could come back with some well-being tips, perhaps. You don't know what they're going to come back with, but that could be something to give them to look forward to, as you're planning your learning and conference and events schedule and planning. And I think sometimes maybe we reserve that maybe just for partners, maybe senior managers, but it's very scalable these days. I think that you can probably find something for everybody. Operations and admin too, by the way. How are we feeding them? Where are they participating? Where are they networking? Where are they getting re-energized? Where are they getting new ideas and exposed to new ideas? Because they're the ones that are really, we're looking to drive change, but sometimes, they maybe like the way things are going and don't want to change. But if they see other people doing it, they could test the waters a little bit. So anyway, what can we do to give them some of, those things to, consider especially if we've not done it traditionally, but firm up some of those plans, look at that. It doesn't have to take that long. It doesn't have to be that expensive. There's remote opportunities. There's in person, there's local, there's national, there's industry specific. I mean, there's just lots of ways we can slice and dice that. If you want resources, let us know, by the way. But that's something else to consider as you're looking at, hey, what can we, be planting seeds for in May, June, July, et cetera, for the summer.
I love that, Tamera. For the operations people, CPA FMA is a great place to look for various forms of education, whether it be webinars or, other, an annual conference this year, co-located with the AICPA Engage. So I love the idea of having people feel enriched and giving them hope, but also like some sort of feeling of, there's some change in the air for me. I can get better. I can help the organization get better. So I love that. The other thing I was thinking about while you were talking is a lot of times many firms do a State of the Union kind of address, and they often do it in January, sort of a kickoff, a tone setter, and then silence falls, crickets, nothing, well, so how was the peak season for spring? And what are we doing this summer and fall? And what does come for us the second half? And how we doing? And all of that. And I feel like a good cadence of regular communication, providing your people with like status and how are we doing as an organization and where should we be focusing? What are our top focal points as a group this summer? What should they be? And I don't care how large your firm is, we can still synthesize it down to some big rocks that we should be focused on for the second half, if you will. And so I think that's one of the missed opportunities. Not only do we not like schedule the work and act like deliverables are super important every day of summer, we also tend to sort of forget the strategic discussions we were having earlier. And we go into new planning phases as leaders often, because Tamara and I certainly do lots of retreat facilitation in the summertime. But in the new planning phases, there's kind of crickets and not a lot of details being said about what should we be focused on now. And we all kind of stagger out of the peak season and think, okay, I'll just like look at my own work to-do list to figure it out. So recentering your team on the strategy and the big rocks and the status really could make for a much more productive, hopeful, focused, purposeful second half.
Yes, I love that. So we hope this gives you some ideas to consider. And, you might in conversations, ask others around you, what else should we, could you be planning for? What else should we handle here in the next week or so? And then start anticipating as we come out in April, 1st of May, so that we can be ready. And we wish everybody a good luck, and that we hope everything is smooth. And we will continue these HR huddles, for the next few weeks. We'll take a hiatus over the last filing date in April, and then we will start some maybe proactive summer planning HR huddles as we, talk about different strategies. If there's things you want to hear from us, please let us know. We would love any topic ideas for these HR huddles. And thank you for joining us, or joining us at a later time. Have a great day.